Hello everyone, welcome to the series of Indianomics. Today's topic of discussion is not chosen by me. Rather, one of my students have suggested me that whether India is heading towards secular stagnation. Now, dedicated to the query, especially on the basis of news which are there in the newspaper, that whether India is heading towards secular stagnation. And also letting you know that the judgment is not so easy. That means when you try to read some economic definition and when you try to compare that definition on the ground, that whether the things are changing in the same manner, these things are two different phenomena, because for declaring some phenomena on the ground you need to have very strong empirical evidence to support your suggestion. So that is why this lecture is dedicated towards letting you know about secular stagnation, plus also letting you know about whether India can be declared in a stage that is called as secular stagnation or not. So let's start the discussion with the meaning of secular stagnation. It is made up of two words. One is secular and the second one is stagnation. Secular in economics means prolonged period of time. It means prolonged period of time. Prolonged period of time. And stagnation means, lack of economic activity. That means if for a prolonged period of time there is no economic activity or very minimum economic activity, this situation is called as a secular stagnation. Okay, so it is a state of little or no economic growth. In other words, an environment where economy is essentially stagnant. Now, economy is essentially stagnant means the parameters of economy like unemployment is increasing, or investment is decreasing, or you can say that the savings are affected. Yes, people are not able to demand the goods and service, because these are the parameters of macroeconomy. So economy is a cumulative sum of all these parameters. Now if you say that the economy is performing well, that means the unemployment rate should reduce, the investment rate should increase, the savings should also increase, there should be a demand in the economy. These things decide that whether the economy is in the state of stagnation or not. Okay. Now there is one more fact. That what essentially is the outcome of the secular stagnation. Secular stagnation outcome is a trap between investment and economic growth. Now please understand, investment is input. Investment is input and economic growth is output. Economic growth is output. If there is no input, necessarily there will be no output. This is very simple phenomena. It is not difficult to understand. So unless you promote investment, you cannot expect economic growth. This is what is the meaning of the relationship between the investment and economic growth. Now, if for a prolonged period of time there is a lack of investment, because investment itself depends on certain parameters which we will discuss in this lecture also. If there is a lack of investment for a prolonged period of time, then essentially the economic growth will be low. So that is basically a low equilibrium trap between the investment and the economic growth for prolonged period of time. Prolonged period of time. You don't have to forget this phenomena, prolonged period of time. Why I am saying this thing? Because there are two things. One, cyclical, and the second one is called as structural. Cyclical is something which is going to repeat all the time. Say for example, if there is, please understand this thing. If I draw this diagram, you might be aware of this concept also, business cycle. This was called as expansion, This was called as peak. This phase was called as a recession. And the lowest point was called as depression. Yes. So you can see that if this recession is for longer duration of time, longer duration of time, it means what? It means that the economic activity is very low. So this can be a condition of great economic recession. This is what happened in 2008, the economic crisis in America. And from 2008 till 2019, till 2018 also, America was not able to revive its economy. Why? Because it is a prolonged period of low economic growth in America. That means the recession is one reason why in America you lack the economic growth. That means we can say that America is in a state of secular stagnation. Okay. Now if I draw a second diagram, say for example this was the growth, this was the path of growth. The growth had slowed down, it came down, but again it revived. Again it slowed down, again it revived, again it slowed down, again it revived. If the diagram goes like this, so there is a cyclical increase in economic activity, cyclical decrease in the rate of economic activity, again cyclical increase. This cannot be called as a structural stagnation. That means what is structural here? The economic structure. The first diagram which I discussed, this one, this can be called as, from this point to this point, the recession, if it is prolonged, it can be called as a stagnation. But if the things are changing in a cyclical proportion, because say for example you are riding a cycle, you can speed up the cycle, but after a duration of time your speed will slow down. Again you will try to revive the same thing. If these things go cyclically, I cannot call it as a secular stagnation. So if there is a stagnation in the economy which is cyclical in nature, it should not be equated with a secular stagnation. This is the essential meaning of the discussion. So economic recession is certainly one reason for secular stagnation. Do in our country we have the economic recession? I can say that no, in our country the rate of increase is decreasing, not the amount of economic activity is decreasing. Say for example from 100 we went to 110, though we had a 10% economic growth. From 110 we went to 115. Still there is some kind of economic growth, 5 by 11, which comes out to be 4.44. That means we are growing from 110 to 115, but the rate of increase, earlier the rate of increase was 10%, now the rate of increase is 4.44%. The rate of increase is decreasing, but in amount we are increasing from 100 to 110 to 115. Okay, so you don't have to confuse yourself every time with a secular stagnation. Okay, if there is a great economic recession for a prolonged period of time, it will affect the investment, and investment will affect the growth of the economy. So economic recession can be a reason for this secular stagnation. Now the second point, savings at the cost of investment. Now he is a person X, and if this person puts its money in the bank, and like this person, there are many persons who are putting their money in the bank, and the bank is giving the same money to the corporate. So this money is called as investment. But if this person finds some other opportunity, say for example gold, and if this person puts its money in gold rather putting that money in the bank, now this is also a saving. Please understand this thing. This is also a saving. But this is called as collective saving. Collective saving. And this is called as individual saving. This is called as individual saving. Say for example, there is a situation when an individual finds that There is no profit in putting money in the bank. Rather, a profitable activity is putting my money in the gold. It may be increasing my individual saving, but this gold is not utilized for the development of the economy. People keep gold in their houses. So certainly individual saving is increasing at the cost of investment. So unless you have the investment, from where the economy is going to go, because investment is an input for the economic growth. We have discussed this point also. So if saving is increasing at the cost of investment over a period of time, which happened in great economic depression in late 1920s, this can also be a situation to promote secular stagnation. I hope you might have got this point. Now the next point is demographic transition. Say for example, this circle represents the total population, and if in this circle, if I divide two sections, this is the older section and this is the younger section. You can see this fact that if the older population is more in percentage as compared to the younger population, the older population demand is less. Their utility for the economic growth is also less. Okay, because of their production power, it gets reduced because of their age. So if there is a demographic transition and the people average age is increasing and it is surpassing say 50 or 60 years, then certainly that economy is not going to perform well, and this will promote prolonged period. Prolonged period, that means what? The larger population is the older population, and this older population is having low producing power as compared to the younger population. So in this situation also, we can expect that the investment will suffer for a longer period, and that is going to affect the economic growth for a longer period of time. Though this is also one factor. Now if there is a lack of demand in the economy, say for example, a country is periodically affected by disasters, or a country is extremely poor in purchasing power, where most of the like sub-Saharan countries, we cannot equate these countries with India. Why? Because although in India there are a huge population which are poor, but still our situation is becoming better day by day, and there is a rising middle class population in our country. Rising middle class population in our country. So they are increasing the demand. So if there is a lack of demand in the economy for a prolonged period of time, because economy functions on the basis of demand and supply. Unless there is demand, why the corporate is going to supply? And for supply, we will have to, if we want to produce some goods and services according to the demand of the population, he will have to invest in the economy. If there is no demand, there will be no investment in the economy. And there is a lack of demand in the economy for a prolonged period of time. Say for example, disaster, which results in destruction of life and property for a prolonged period of time, like in the case of Nepal. So it can be a situation, it can be a condition where the economy may be called as in a situation of secular stagnation. Now, if there is a huge income inequality in the country, please understand this thing. Income inequality means here purchasing power. Yes, this is the percentage of the, say for example, lower income group. This is the percentage of the middle income group, and this is the percentage of the higher income group. So this is higher, this is middle income group, and this is lower income group. So if in your country there is a maximum percentage of the lower income group, yes, but they have a very little wealth of the country. So say for example, this is the population and this is a wealth. Yes, and if the graph goes like this means what? The maximum population, say for example 80% of the population is having, so for example, only 10% wealth of the country. So if in your economy there is an income inequality for a prolonged period of time, now again you will get confused, the same thing with Indian economy. In Indian economy there is a rising middle class. The lower classes are getting reduced because of the opportunities which is provided by the government. So in our country, maybe there is income inequality, but the composition of the population in lower income groups is getting reduced. Okay, there are various instances where the people are dying because of hunger and all those things. They are examples, and these examples are critical of any country, but in our country there is a rising middle class population because the educational standards are increasing in our country. So it would be a condition, say for example in Pakistan. There is a harsh difference between two kinds of population. One extremely poor and another is extremely rich. There is a lack of middle income groups in those countries, especially like Pakistan. So that's why that country can be called as a country which is having the elements of secular stagnation. So when you talk about the situation of secular stagnation, it originated in 1920s during Great Economic Depression. So what was happening during Great Economic Depression? There was a increase in prices and suddenly there was a fall in stock market, and because of that the economy had entered depression. When the economy had entered depression, then there was a situation of deflation in the economy. Now please understand, deflation will always come after sudden increase in the price of goods and services, which is becoming uncontrollable. So this is what happening in the stock market in America. Sudden inflation will create deflation problem. So there was a deflation in the economy of the Western countries, and that's why the people, in spite of spending in the economy, they started putting their money in the bank. And the corporate were not encouraged to take loan from the bank. So money was kept in the bank only. So bank started reducing the rate of interest. And when the individuals were getting less rate of interest from the bank, they started investing in the physical assets like gold, which increased further problems in the Western economies. So Great Economic Depression was the reason. Okay, it was further validated in 2008. Again, American stock exchange crisis caused by real estate bubble. Real estate prices were increasing at a very fast pace, and suddenly the prices dropped, caused deflation, and it encouraged secular stagnation in America. If I talk about the condition of India, please understand this thing. There is one more factor which is not generally mentioned by the newspapers also. Secular stagnation situation is more valid for those economies which were market based. What is a market based economy? There is a lack of interference by the government. Government interference is zero or very minimum. So in that situation, the market functions only on the basis of demand and supply. And if the market crash, because the complete economy is supported by the market, and if the market crash, this condition is called as secular stagnation, because both the actors here, the consumer as well as the producer, in a market based economy, both are guided by self-interest. Unless the consumer is going to demand, the producer is not going to invest. That means the producer will never take the risk. And if the situation of producer is wrong or bad, the consumer will try to take the maximum benefit by asking for less prices of the goods and services. So when both are guided by the self-interest, certainly if the economy is going in a situation of crisis, the economy will take longer duration to revive. Now if there is an important actor in the economy, that is called as government, the government is not guided by the self-interest. Rather, the government is guided more by the public interest. So whenever the economy is in the bad condition, the government interferes, like Keynesian economics, like government interfered in Indian economy in 2008, and government tries to revive the economy by increasing the demand. Say for example, if there is a lack of demand, then the government will try to give money to each and every section of the population, like farmers increasing the MSP, like Manrega workers increasing their salaries by reducing the rate of interest of income tax for the companies, or for example increasing the salaries of the government employees. So government in the name of public interest many a times revives the economy, which is not considered good in the market because market says that the government should not interfere. Now if I say secular stagnation in India there is always a dominant role of the government, and because of the dominant role of the government, whenever the market fails, the government comes and interfere. And this has also happened after Great Economic Depression. If you remember Great Economic Depression that we discussed in the class also in late 1920s. After that we had Second World War, and immediately after that the Keynesian economics developed, which talked about a dominant role of the government. That means even the secular stagnation was solved only by a dominant role of the government, when the government tries to inject money in the economy. In 1970s, Professor Raj Krishna called the Indian growth as Hindu rate of growth. Now what was this Hindu rate of growth? Prolonged period of low economic growth. Prolonged period of low economic growth. Why? Because from 1950s, since the inception of Planning Commission till late 1970s and 1980s, in spite of doing huge investment in the economy, there was lack of economic growth. Every time the economic growth was less than 5%. So this made Professor Raj Krishna to give a thesis named as Hindu rate of growth. But this cannot be called as, see, only prolonged period of low economic growth cannot be equated with the secular stagnation. Why? Because in India there is a dominant role of the government and investment was there in the Indian economy. And prolonged period of low economic growth because of low investment in secular stagnation is more acceptable when the investment is decreased continuously for a prolonged period of time. But in Indian economy, continuously the government was injecting more and more money from 1950s to 1980s. But because of the structural problem in the Indian economy, the growth was not there. But still Indian economy was not the market based, which is the basic reason behind the secular stagnation. Because in a market based economy, complete economic activity is based on the market. And if the market crashes, then the complete economy comes at a point of minimum or low economic activity. But in our country, every time the economy has suffered, the government tried to change the strategy of reviving the economy, and every time the result was there in the Indian economy. Yes, so there may be a link, a very weak link with the Hindu rate of growth which Professor Raj Krishna made in 1970s, but that is also not secular stagnation. Okay, so is it right to say that India is in the state of secular stagnation? In my opinion, you cannot say, because in COVID crisis what is happening, few economists are saying that India was already slipping down. Why? Because we discussed this point also. First, demonetization, it affected the informal sector of the economy, and informal sector of the economy is one reason behind huge consumption in the economy. So if the informal sector was affected by the demonetization, it affected the economic growth because it affected the demand by the informal sectors in the economy. And immediately after that, GST. The business enterprises were not able to adapt with the change condition because it was a very big transformation in the system of the taxation in our country, especially the indirect taxation. And immediately after that, we have seen the COVID crisis. So Indian economy was already slipping, especially after 2016. From 2014, 15 and 16, the growth was very good. And after that, the growth was reducing. And immediately we faced the problem of COVID crisis. And every day these days we are seeing that around 50,000 cases are coming of COVID. People's saving are being reduced and there is a lack of demand in the economy. So that is why the economic growth is reducing. But whether it is right to say that India is in secular stagnation, I completely discard this phenomena, and you will be understanding this phenomena with this fact. Please understand this thing. Although we can see that the investment is reducing, please understand this thing. Investment as a percentage of GDP is reducing. You can see that as a percentage of GDP, the investment is continuously reducing. But investment in absolute terms is not reducing. Absolute terms. Say for example, we were investing 10,000 rupees. Now we are investing, for example, after that we invested 1 lakh, 15,000 for example. From 10,000 we increase the expenditure to 15,000. So there is an increase of expenditure by 5,000, which is equal to 50%. Now there is an increase of expenditure by, say for example, 1,000 only. Say it is 16,000. Still there is an absolute increase or not? Although percentage wise there is just increase of 1,000 rupees as compared to the 15,000. That comes out to be 1 by 15. 1 by 15 comes out to be, 6.66%. So maybe the investment percentage is being reduced, but in the absolute term the investment amount is increasing. Remember this fact. The UPSC can confuse you in the examination. In the percentage terms, investment as a percentage of GDP, it is being reduced, but in the absolute terms the investment is increasing. Yes. Now what is happening here? You can see that how the nominal GDP is being reduced. Now GDP is what? It is a growth which is again measured in percentage. So into, say for example, during this duration, if Indian economy was growing from at 12%, so for example from 100 to 112 we grow. Then after that it reduced to 10%. Then 10% will be 11.2 plus 112. That means still there is a growth, but there is a reduction in the increase in growth. After that the growth has reduced by, say for example to 5%. Even if there is growth, although percentage wise it is reducing, but still India is growing every year. So this cannot be called as a condition of, lack of economic activity. Why? Because we discussed that this phase is called as recession. This phase is called as recession. This phase is called as recession. I am saying here that India may be growing at this phase. Maybe the rate of increase has decreased, again it has decreased, again it has decreased, but still it is growing. Still it is growing. The rate of increase is being reduced, but still India is growing. Okay. Now you can see that the employment scenario. Now you can see that unemployment rate decreased in 2017. Again it increased to a very huge amount, around 25% in COVID. But immediately after the lockdown has been eased, we can see that the unemployment rates are decreasing. There is a decrease in the unemployment rate. Okay. So maybe because of COVID shock, and it is not because of the control of the Indian economy. COVID is something which is an external factor which is affecting the Indian economy. So I cannot say that it is the structural weakness which is limiting the growth in the Indian economy. It is rather a phenomena which is not in the control of India. The complete world is not having any vaccine of COVID. And Indian economy, the density of the population is high, so it is very much, certain that the population is going to get affected. So you can see that even if the unemployment was increasing, but now after the lockdown is eased, we can see that the unemployment rates are being reduced. Now you can see that the savings are reduced. Yes, savings are reduced in the percentage wise. But if I talk about investment, please understand this thing. Investment, as I discussed also in the previous slide, investment is increasing in absolute terms. So there is a reduction in savings, for a period of time, there is a reduction in savings, but this is not bringing the condition of the great economic recession or secular stagnation. There is no recession in the economy, there is a slowdown. There is a difference between recession and slowdown. So certainly the saving is decreasing and India should make policies to increase the savings. But still the condition is under the control of the Indian economy. So what needs to be done? Please understand this thing, that I discard this phenomena that India is in the state of secular stagnation. Why? Because there are certain factors. It should be a market-based economy. And still we have seen that more than 50% of the investment in Indian economy comes from government. The second, it should be the condition of recession. And in India, there is no recession, there is a slowdown. Okay. So rather calling it as a secular stagnation, I can call it a cyclical and to a extent structural slowdown, which is always there in India, but still structural slowdown, we are not able to realize our potential. That is one point. We are not able to realize our complete potential, the complete potential of the structure of the Indian economy, primary, secondary or tertiary. But still every year we are trying to make reforms which is decreasing the gap that we are having between the reality and the potentiality. So we are working on our structure also continuously. The government policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and also National Investment Pipeline, these policies, Make in India policy, these policies day by day are reducing the structural bottleneck of the Indian economy. Yes. So what needs to be done? The government, for a short period of time, government can support the Keynesian economics. That means what? Injecting money in the economy. And which money? There is a term that is called as helicopter money. Helicopter money. That means to every section of the population, whichever section. In a situation, you have to revive the economy. That means the person who can demand the goods, like the Manrega workers, or for example, the salaried persons, or for example the corporates, every sector should get the benefit of the government. For a shorter period of time, it is going to increase the fiscal deficit. For a shorter period of time, it may increase the fiscal deficit, but we always had fiscal deficit and we always tried to develop with fiscal deficit. Even we showed phenomenal growth. India became the fastest growing economy even if we are having the fiscal deficit. So fiscal deficit can be managed by the government. And Indian situation is not equivalent to the situation of India in 1990s. And everybody is facing the crisis. So it would be wrong to say that whether India is in the stage of secular stagnation, but yes, there should be a caution. Slowdown should be an opportunity. And also you should be cautious that if you are not going to control the slowdown, it is going to bring back recession in the Indian economy. And if there is a recession in the Indian economy, there are millions of population will be affected by this crisis. So it is an eye opener for the Indian economy. There should be proper skill mapping of all migrant workers who moved back to their villages. You should provide them with the opportunities of work. For a shorter period of time, till the vaccines are available, the government should take the responsibility. Government should increase expenditure without fearing about the fiscal deficit, because we always had fiscal deficit, and in spite of fiscal deficit we had shown phenomenal growth. So if these things are going to be done, and if we know that consumption constitutes around 70% of the Indian economy, because consumption is done by the population and maximum population are middle income or lower income, the government should increase the consumption by the expenditure, like MSP price, Manrega wages, yes, or for example reducing taxes, and government is also doing those things. Yes. So in a nutshell, while concluding, I can say that India may enter secular stagnation. India is not in secular stagnation. If the policies are going to be right, then we expect that the Indian economy is going to revive with the growth. Okay. So based on the discussion, you have to do one question with reference to secular stagnation in the news. Consider the following statements. First, secular stagnation is the phenomenon of periodic slowdown in the economy. Second, aging and demographic transition affects the demand and fuels the secular stagnation. Third, secular stagnation in secular stagnation, the tools of monetary policy become redundant. Fourth, both developed and developing countries are equally vulnerable to ill effects of secular stagnation. And fifth, secular stagnation may convert a slowdown to recession and further to depression. Now, in this question, not everything is given in the discussion. I expect that you will use your mind and try to answer this question. If you can answer this question, now please understand how economics helps and how these concepts help in our preparation. The moment we try to understand this concept of secular stagnation, and when the moment we try to find out the data, like I have shown you employment data, I have shown you various other informations. The moment you try to show these kinds of informations, you try to link one concept with another concept, it revives your understanding and it strengthens your command on the concept. So understanding the concept is one thing, but linking the same concept with the phenomena on the grassroots is what is the role of a UPSC aspirant. So all the best. We'll meet again with the next topic of discussion. Till then, keep participating and keep appreciating. Thank you so much.